The story starts where Sulhee tells him to stop staring because it's creepy. Chan-woo looks confused, sweating as he hears her sudden complaint. He questions her, looking up from the notebook where he's drawing. Sulhee sighs, telling him not to make her repeat herself, but he points out she literally asked him for a portrait. She clarifies that she wanted a drawing facing forward, which makes Chan-woo keep scribbling while asking if that's how people normally ask for favors. He mentions she'd look better from the side. He finishes the sketch and says he just needs her eyes now. Sulhee blushes and turns away, suddenly too shy to look back. Chan-woo turns his head, hearing a girl call out his name. Dahi walks up to his desk, looking curious about what he's doing. She smiles and asks if he's back to drawing again, making him confirm he was sketching Sulhee. Dahi acts impressed, asking for a look. Chan-woo explains Sulhee wants it for Instagram and she's buying him lunch. Dahi grips the drawing tightly, staring at the sketch with a blank face. She admits the art is nice, but claims it looks nothing like her, leaving Chan-woo confused. He simply thinks Sulhee is really pretty, which catches Dahi off guard. She leans in close, wondering if he's serious. She asks for a portrait too, promising him a much better reward. Chan-woo blushes, wondering what reward could be better than food, while a sharp voice suddenly cuts in, asking what's going on here. Dahi turns around to see who's talking. It's Sulhee, who looks pissed off. She glares at Dahi and tells her to get lost right now. Two of Dahi's friends, Woonjin and Hyuk-jung, laugh and act tough, but Sulhee doesn't blink, she just calls them a couple of losers. Woonjin loses his cool and tries to lunge, but Hyuk-jung holds him back. Dahi tries to play it cool, telling her friends to relax and stop. She stands up from the chair and realizes something, which leads to her calling Sulhee out since she thought Sulhee didn't use Instagram. Yoonga acts all cute, saying if she wanted to flirt she'd just do it. Sulhee just stares her down, totally unimpressed by the act, while Chan-woo explains he's only here to draw and get a free sandwich. He calls out to Sulhee, telling her not to just stand there, so he tells her to come over so he can finish his drawing. Sulhee blushes and looks away, quietly agreeing to follow him. She feels awkward with him looking at her so closely, right when Yoonga decides she's done here and turns to leave the room. Hyuk-jung checks if Yoonga is okay while throwing out a threat. Sulhee tries to get Chan-woo's attention, looking a bit shy. Sulhee asks if he's free, but Chan-woo shuts her down for gaming. She fans herself, complaining about the heat and telling him to back off. Chan-woo points out he literally sits right next to her anyway. Sulhee sighs, wondering if she should just wear a skirt instead. She calls out to him, catching Chan-woo totally off guard, so blushing hard, she asks if he likes girls in pants or skirts better. Chan-woo draws a blank, saying he's never really thought about it. She lets out a disappointed sigh and tells him to just forget it. Chan-woo hesitates for a second, starting to change his mind, then he admits he thinks she'd actually look pretty good in a skirt. Chan-woo taps Sulhee's back, but she starts ignoring him. She's blushing like crazy after what he said, and right then someone calls out to Chan-woo, making him turn his head. It's Da Seul, the class president, and she wants to talk. Sulhee gets annoyed, telling her to get lost because she smells. Da Seul brushes it off, trying to convince Chan-woo to listen. She leans in close, promising it won't take long at all. Chan-woo rubs his neck, feeling awkward but agreeing to go. Suddenly, Sulhee stands up and starts walking away, so Chan-woo looks back and asks where she's going in such a rush. Chan-woo watches the door slam, totally lost about why she's so mad. He turns to Da Seul and asks what she actually needs to talk about. Sweating a bit, Da Seul asks if he can stay behind after class, and time skips to later that day. Everyone is leaving while Sulhee packs. Sulhee looks absolutely furious, staring daggers at the back of the room. Chan-woo feels the scary vibe and decides it's better not to say anything. He watches her walk away, wondering why she's acting so weird today. Da Seul walks up with her hair down, apologizing for being a bit late. She asks if he likes her new look and he admits it's pretty nice. She's happy to hear that, while he just stands there feeling awkward. Chan-woo focuses on his drawing, using his phone as a reference. Da Seul leans in close and asks how the work is coming along. He says it's going well, but looks up with a confused face as she explains he's just helping her with some classroom decoration. She stretches out, asking if he was expecting something else entirely. Chan-woo quickly looks away, insisting it's nothing like that at all. Later at the bus stop, Sulhee sits alone waiting for her ride. She stares at her phone, looking pretty bored with her day, and lets out a long, heavy sigh while clutching her bag tightly. Back in class, Chan-woo agrees to help, though he's sweating a lot. Sulhee looks down, thinking about how he's never acted that way before. As the bus arrives, she notices someone leaving and starts checking her bag. The bus pulls away, leaving her realize she forgot her wallet in class. Back at school, Da Seul lets out a huge yawn and stretches her arms out. She thanks Chan-woo for the help and says they just need to finish up. Chan-woo sits back and says it didn't even take that long to finish. He starts cleaning up the mess while telling her to use the board. Da Seul gets to work pinning things up, staying quiet as she moves around. She blushes, suddenly worried that she might smell like sweat after the work. Chanwoo gets flustered, quickly telling her that she actually smells pretty good. Dasyul fans herself, asking what he'd do if his girlfriend was sweaty. Chanwoo thinks for a second and says he'd just carry towels for her. She bursts out laughing at his answer while he sits there confused. She stops to ask why Sulhee is so mean to him all the time. Chanwoo looks away, saying Sulhee just thinks she's better than everyone. Dasyul leans in, trying to get him to agree that Sulhee is terrible. He stands his ground, saying he thinks Sulhee is just being honest. Sulhee listens from the doorway as he admits he actually likes that trait. He grabs his bag to head out, telling Dasyul to talk to Sulhee herself. Dasyul stands alone, realizing her plan to win him over totally failed. The next day, Chanwoo heads back to school and enters the classroom. He spots Sulhee looking at him, both of them blushing and acting shy. Chanwoo blushes even harder, telling her she looks better than he thought. Sulhee calls him a creep, claiming she caught him staring at her. They talk about a new assignment where they have to watch a performance. Sulhee admits it would be pretty lonely to go to a show by herself. She leans in, about to ask Chanwoo to go together, but gets cut off. A popular but weird guy named Hyun-woo shows up to interrupt them. Hyun-woo gossips about their classmates going to a boxing match for credit. He puts his arm around Chanwoo, asking to do the project together. Hyun-woo keeps pushing, suggesting they turn their project into a double date. Sulhee watches from behind as Hyun-woo teases her for always being grumpy. She snaps and tells him to take the talk elsewhere, looking totally terrifying. Hyun-woo retreats behind a door, nervously checking if Chanwoo is still coming. Sulhee is furious that he ruined the moment, while Chanwoo stays quiet. Chanwoo finally finds his courage and asks Sulhee to go together. Sulhee blushes hard and immediately agrees, clearly caught off guard. Later that night, clothes are scattered all over the floor in her room. Sulhee sighs at her reflection, feeling like she has absolutely nothing to wear. She wonders what he likes but worries about being too obvious. Sulhwa peeks into the room, asking why her sister is sighing so much. Sulhee tells her to beat it while trying to pick out an outfit. Sulhwa teases her about the date, making Sulhee get all defensive. Sulhwa offers to help her dress up, even if it's not a real date. She brags about having a boyfriend before, making Sulhee super annoyed. Next day, Chanwoo's heart is racing as he waits outside, wondering if this counts as a date. He's just dying to see her without a uniform. He stands by the lockers, checking his phone until he hears her voice. Sulhee shows up looking amazing in a skirt, apologizing for the wait. Chanwoo blushes hard, thinking she looks absolutely beautiful today. Chanwoo accidentally says she looks beautiful out loud, making things awkward. Later on, he flops onto his bed thinking about the day. Back at school, the class president slams the desk to get everyone's attention. Dasyul mentions spring is ending. She's sweating a bit while she talks. She writes on the board, announcing that sports day is coming up soon. Sulhee gets a bad vibe from the guy behind her, making her flinch. It's Woonjin, the wrestling champ, is hyped to finally show off his skills. Chanwoo watches the president, assuming she'll dominate the games again, until Hyun-woo grabs his shoulder, telling him that's not the main focus here. He brings up a girl named Sora who transferred in last year. Chanwoo confirms they're in the same class, but he's still a bit confused about what Hyun-woo is getting at. Hyun-woo points out what Sora said during her intro. She's actually a star athlete who won silver at national. Hyun-woo says he hasn't even gotten to the best part yet, pulling out his phone to show off Sora's Instagram. He pulls up a shot of her competing and another one of her on the podium with her medal. She looks like a totally different person. Chanwoo thinks she looks like a pro, while Hyun-woo's just obsessing over her outfit. Suddenly, a voice calls out to Hyun-woo, catching him off guard. It's Sulhee, looking absolutely furious. She calls him a total pervert, but later, Chanwoo can't stop thinking about how pretty Sulhee actually is. Sulhee catches herself thinking about Chanwoo and blushes hard, wondering why. Chanwoo asks what's up, but she just snaps at him while turning away. She notices a guy sleeping nearby and wonders how he stays out like that. Hyun-woo leans in with a smirk, claiming he knows exactly how to wake him. He gets close to the guy's ear, whispering the name Kyung-min to get a rise. The moment he mentions it's time for PE, Kyung-min's eyes snap open instantly. Dasyul notices he's finally awake and asks if he'll join the school events. Kyung-min, a kickboxing champ, looks intense and tells her to sign him up for everything. He realizes it's not actually PE class and goes completely silent, feeling played. Chanwoo watches him pass out again, confused why a fighter even studies design. The list for the school events is final, and everyone's assigned, even Sulhee. Chanwoo and Sulhee lock eyes in total shock at the news. Outside, the stadium is packed and the crowd is loud as things kick off. Sulhee watches the race, holding a water bottle and cheering the guys on. Chanwoo walks up totally wiped out, asking Hyun-woo for some water fast. Sulhee starts to panic, trying to stop him from taking a sip. But it's too late, he's already chugging the water down to cool off. Sulhee turns bright red, realizing she just drank from that same bottle. He finishes and hands it over to Hyun-woo, while Sul-hee just stands there frozen. Suddenly she grabs Chan-woo's arm hard, making him shout out in pain. Sul-hee lands a massive punch right on Chan-woo's chin. He's out cold. He hits the dirt hard. The onlookers are actually impressed by her aim. The intercom announces the relay race and Sul-hee realizes it's showtime. Woonjin looks around, wondering if Hyun-woo is even ready to compete. Chan-woo tries to shake the guy awake, but Hyun-woo is totally out of it. He keeps shouting his name, but the star runner is just a shell right now. The relay starts later. Chan-woo and Sul-hee check their leg strap, making sure it's tight. Meanwhile, So-ra and Woonjin are pumped to take the win. The last runner looks at Hyun-woo, wondering if the guy is actually sick. Young-ah watches from the sidelines, confused why their fastest runner is second. Da-seul knows they're just buying time for Hyun-woo to snap out of it. The class president stands by sweating, clipboard in hand, hoping for the best. The official raises the starting pistol and gives the signal to get ready. Chan-woo warns Sul-hee that the gun is loud so she doesn't get startled. Her heart thumps as she notices he actually looks more nervous than her. The gun fires, and the three-legged race begins with everyone charging ahead. Electronics takes the early lead, while Chan-woo struggles with his grip. He's barely holding her shirt and they're starting to fall behind, making him call out her name. She looks up, surprised by the sudden focus. The announcer yells that the first team is already passing their baton. Hyuk-jong checks if his partner is ready as the other teams approach, so the announcer shouts out the names of the teams leading the pack. Chan-woo and Sul-hee cross the line, relieved they aren't in last place. Hyuk-jong grabs the baton firmly, telling his teammate to leave the rest to them. While Sul-hee catches her breath, Hyuk-jong and his partner take off, and they fly past a competitor from the other team like it's nothing. Chan-woo mentions how intense her training was, watching them go, because Kyung-min is actually dragging her partner along the track by her leg. The announcer screams that the design team is holding onto a massive lead. Young-ah watches from the sidelines, wondering if that's even allowed. Hyuk-jong points out that Kyung-min is still dragging Hyun-woo along, but he's told it's totally fine for the race. Usually partners have to sync up their steps, which is hard, but since she's just pulling him, it gives her a huge advantage, and Kyung-min hits the track hard, dragging poor Hyun-woo through the dirt. Hyuk-jong cheers her on, while Young-ah just watches with a blank face. She's almost at the finish line, pushing through the fatigue, when another team yells that she's cheating, trying to catch up to her. They both sprint for the tape, leaving Hyun-woo behind in a daze, and Kyung-min grits her teeth, refusing to let anyone take this win. Kyung-min puts everything into a final kick to cross the line. She slides past the finish, and the announcer calls the winner as Hyun-woo faceplants hard into the dirt right behind her. The design team takes first place and their friend celebrates. Later, Chan-woo tries to compliment Sul-hee but gets nervous. Sul-hee turns around with a blush, greeting him back, but their hands almost touch, making Chan-woo's heart race. In class the next day, Chan-woo lets out a huge sneeze, and he groans about being sick while Sul-hee just stares at him. She sighs, wondering how he could possibly be this weak. Sul-hee raises her hand, telling the teacher Chan-woo feels sick. Hyun-woo watches them leave as the teacher tells the class to focus. He points at Young-ah, asking if she'd do the same for him. She shuts him down instantly, not wanting to catch his germs. Hyun-woo thinks that's cold, but she just tells him to forget it. Still, he can't help but feel a little jealous of the attention. Meanwhile, Sul-hee helps Chan-woo make it all the way to the infirmary. A girl walks into the room, acting like the nurse missed her. The nurse isn't amused, saying her job is better when nobody visits. Sul-hee drags a feverish Chan-woo inside, looking for some help. The nurse tells Sul-hee to put the guy on the bed, then come talk, so Sul-hee helps Chan-woo lie down while the transfer student So-ra watches. The nurse asks about the symptoms as Sul-hee starts to explain. Sul-hee goes into detail about Chan-woo's fever since this morning, while the nurse thinks the explanation is actually pretty thorough. Behind the curtain, So-ra hears the voice and starts to realize the nurse asks for his name to finish the paperwork. Sul-hee says his name is Chan-woo, and So-ra's eyes go wide because she rushes over to him, worried about his fever. But Sul-hee grabs her arm immediately, asking who the hell she is. Sul-hee stares her down, asking how she even knows Chan-woo. So-ra just says they're in the same club together, but the nurse snaps at them both to shut up before she loses it. She turns away, focused on dealing with the guy's fever first, so she hands over some medicine and tells Sul-hee to give it to him. The nurse asks if Sul-hee is his girlfriend, which makes Sul-hee totally freeze up, her face turning bright red while So-ra shouts that he doesn't have a girlfriend at all. Sul-hee stays quiet and blushing, just confirming the dose. The nurse agrees, hoping the pill finally drops his temperature. The nurse says she'll write a note so Sul-hee can take him home. Sul-hee blushes hard while So-ra yells, hating that she gets to go. The girls keep arguing until the nurse tells them to zip it. Chan-woo just lies there with a fever, wishing they'd be quiet. Sul-hee hands him the meds, surprised to see him looking so weak. He slowly sits up, feeling the heat from his fever, and tells her he can handle the pill himself since it's no big deal. Sol-hee looks away, mentioning the nurse gave her strict orders. He gives in and takes the help, secretly enjoying the attention. They sit together in silence as she gets the medicine ready. Sol-hee blushes as she holds out a pill, telling him to open up. Chan-woo leans in, breathing heavily from the fever while reaching for it. She watches him take it, then tells him to wash it down with water. Sol-hee helps him drink, pouring more water to make sure he feels better. He pulls back for a second, gasping for air between gulps of water. She looks at him and realizes he's actually pretty vulnerable when he's sick. The nurse checks on him, then tells Sol-hee to get a signed note. She heads to the office where the teacher signs off on taking him home. Sol-hee returns to the infirmary with his bag, ready to head out. The nurse says goodbye, reminding them to see a doctor if he's still sick. Sora peeks out from the curtain, making sure the coast is clear. She calls out the nurse for failing to help her with Chan-woo. The nurse gives her a scary look, threatening to break her leg. Later on the bus, Sol-hee checks on him, his fever finally broke. They sit together in the back just as the bus reaches their stop. Sol-hee asks if visiting is okay. He says his house is empty. Her heart starts racing. She can't believe he's inviting her over. She starts panicking about her outfit, wondering if she looks okay. She wonders if he's even worried about her making a move on him. Chan-woo stands up, snapping her out of it. They're finally home. Chan-woo mentions his place is visible from the bus stop, making Sol-hee realize just how close they are. He offers to walk her to the door anyway. Once they arrive, he thanks her for all the help, looking a bit shy. Sol-hee teases him about owing her for this, her face flushing red as she prepares to head out. She tells him to get some rest, but Chan-woo stops her, asking if she wants to come in for a drink first. Her heart starts pounding. She can't believe the offer as the bus doors close. Cut to the next day, Da-seul announces the school trip is coming up. She tells everyone to check the handouts, sweating through her shirt as usual. Chan-woo picks up a schedule, only to find it's completely soaked in sweat. Chan-woo wonders why they have to wear uniforms, while Sol-hee stays quiet. He hears they're headed to an island and asks her what she thinks. Sol-hee just stares blankly, making Chan-woo wonder what's going on with her. Flashback to last night, his heart was racing when he invited her in. He regrets saying it now, blushing hard while Sol-hee glances over. Sol-hee blushes too. She never expected him to actually make a move. In her head, she remembers him looking like a total heartthrob in the light. Suddenly, Sol-hee slams her head onto the desk, shocking Chan-woo. He reaches out to see if she's okay after that massive thud. She looks up with a huge red mark on her forehead, acting like she's fine. The teacher finishes up her lecture and dismisses the class for the day. Chan-woo's phone starts buzzing, catching him off guard, so he checks it and sees a text from Hae-min. She wants him to meet her for a shopping trip. Later at the mall, Hae-min shows up with her friend and calls him over. Chan-woo notices she's brought a friend along, which makes things a bit awkward. He thinks the friend looks just like a younger version of Sol-hee. They head inside where rows of trendy clothes are lined up on the racks. Hae-min tries on a new outfit. Her friend loves it, but Chan-woo thinks it's way too short. Sol-hwa thinks she looks good, but not as good as her sister. While they grab drinks, Hae-min starts gossiping about some guy who messaged her. Sol-hwa laughs about a guy acting like a strict dad, but Hae-min isn't amused. Sol-hwa mentions she has a story too, about a guy she sits next to who was sick. Since they live close, the teacher asked her to drop off some handouts for him. She tells them she went over to his place, and that's when things got weird. She says he invited her in for a drink. Right then, Chan-woo spits his juice everywhere. He's a total mess, coughing and dripping juice while the girls check on him. Hae-min tries to change the subject, bragging about how her brother is actually really good at drawing and even makes some money doing requests on the side. Chan-woo tries to stay humble, cleaning up the spill while telling her to stop. Sol-hwa realizes he goes to her sister's school. She's shocked he's getting paid. Sol-hwa starts wondering if this guy is actually her sister's classmate. Flashback time, Sol-hee is getting ready, brushing her teeth while Chan-woo gets dressed in his room. He pulls on a black shirt, then Sol-hee checks herself out in the mirror. She's all dolled up, making sure everything looks perfect. Chan-woo finishes up by tightening his belt and they both look great. They're blushing big time, clearly nervous about the day ahead. Later on, the city is packed with people walking around when the two of them finally meet up. They stand there in the crowd, looking at each other with red faces. It's definitely a date, and soon they're at a restaurant. Sol-hee feeds him a bite, both totally flustered. Sol-hee snaps a quick photo of her drink. It looks too good not to share. Next, they hit up Artbox. The store is full of cute stuff to check out. Sol-hee puts some goofy heart shades on Chan-woo, messing with him while he finds a necklace he likes. He holds it up with a smile, then gets super flustered trying to help her put it on. He's bright red. Later, Sol-hee points out a movie poster. It's a romance film and they grab seats in the theater. They look a bit awkward but happy. Things get real when they slowly reach out and hold hands. It's finally happening. After the movie, Chan-woo waits in the hallway on his phone. Inside the restroom, Sul-hee touches up her lipstick, making sure she's ready. They stop by a window to look at a wedding dress together. The sun hits them just right, casting a long shadow as they hold hands. He pulls her in for a kiss right by the door, and it's pretty sweet. Chan-woo laughs at her while they run down the sidewalk at sunset. They take a quiet walk under the streetlights, just enjoying the vibe. Sul-hee passes out on his shoulder during the train ride home. The sun goes down over the empty playground near her place. Back at her building, Sul-hee tells him she had a blast today. Chan-woo notices she's acting a bit off and asks if everything's okay. She gets shy but says she wants him all to herself forever. Chan-woo pulls her close, thanking her for being there for him. Sul-hee blushes hard, begging him to never leave her side, ever. Flashback to school. Sul-hwa wonders if this guy is her sister's type. She asks Chan-woo if she can see his drawings for a second. He gets humble, claiming his art isn't even that good anyway. Sul-hee slams the table, yelling at him to be nicer to ladies. He sighs and hands his phone over, telling her not to look at other stuff. Sul-hee pouts, feeling bad because he only ever makes fun of her. Sul-hwa looks through his phone, thinking he might be the concert guy. But she doubts it since he doesn't seem like her sister's usual type. Sul-hwa looks at Chan-woo, thinking he looks a bit too plain for her sister. Sul-hee gets defensive, telling him she won't let him have Sul-hwa. She scrolls through his phone and finds a bunch of cool character sketches. Sul-hwa is actually impressed by how many drawings he has, wondering if they're for a comic. She keeps scrolling and finds a detailed portrait. It's a sketch of her sister, Sul-hee. She remembers seeing it framed and realizes this is the exact picture from her sister's room. She still doesn't get what Sul-hee sees in this guy, but knows her sister has been acting pretty weird lately. Sul-hee stares out at the stars, comparing their shine to Chan-woo's eyes. Sul-hwa watches her sister, worried because Sul-hee has zero dating experience, so she decides to test Chan-woo to see if he's actually good enough. Chan-woo tells her he does housework every day, making Sul-hwa think he's nice. She calls out to him, catching him off guard while he's just sitting there, then tells him she actually really likes one of his drawings. She holds up his phone, showing the sketch of her sister and calling it pretty. Chan-woo starts to blush, looking away as he tries to act cool, but he admits the model was just beautiful and looks way better in real life. That hits the spot. Sul-hwa thinks he's perfect and totally approves of him. Suddenly, Sul-hee leans in and asks which drawing they're even talking about. Sul-hee points out that the girl in the drawing looks like his sister. Hae-min laughs it off, asking if she's really the model. Sul-hwa pulls a weird face, asking if the two of them are actually dating. Hae-min looks at the phone, thinking the model looks like Sul-hwa, so she asks Sul-hee if her sister has a specific name. Sul-hee quickly puts a finger to her lips, signaling her to be quiet. Hae-min makes a serious face, finally realizing the connection, but she suddenly smacks the phone right out of Chan-woo's hand. Chan-woo just stands there frozen, staring down at his empty hands. He watches her walk away, sweating while thinking about how close they are. Sul-hee looks back with a slight blush, humming to herself. She stops and turns cold, acknowledging Chan-woo with a simple hey. He stands there confused by her icy mood, wondering what her deal is. Later at school, the sun shines over the campus as classes begin. In class, Sul-hee mentions a girl dating someone else, making him think about how popular she is with guys and feeling kind of bad for them. She gets annoyed, demanding an answer while insisting she likes nobody. Chan-woo just looks at her back, trailing off as he tries to find words. He breaks into a sweat, debating if he should actually tell her the truth. Hae-min laughs about her brother acting serious when it gets late. Sul-hee brings up a guy's invite for a drink, mocking the cliché line. Chan-woo thinks to himself that agreeing would just be super awkward. She quickly agrees it wouldn't work out, cutting the conversation short. She slams her desk and storms off, leaving Chan-woo totally confused. Sul-hee fixes her hair, looking annoyed while she repeats his words. She tells him to let the teacher know she's feeling sick, heading out. Later, she arrives at the school infirmary to get some peace. She walks in and gives the school nurse a blunt greeting, then the blonde nurse looks up, asking how she can help her today. Sul-hee just asks for a bed, catching the nurse totally off guard. Sul-hee lets out a long sigh as she pulls back the curtain, but she freezes when she sees Young-ah sitting there, looking bored. Sul-hee gets visibly angry, growling and warning her not to start. Young-ah shrugs it off, acting like she isn't in the mood to fight, then Sul-hee suddenly asks what she really thinks of Chan-woo. Young-ah smirks, teasing her by asking if she should just like him. She calls Sul-hee boring and wonders what's up with her today. She admits he's okay but too plain to be her actual type, so she confesses she was only saying that to mess with her. Young-ah asks if he's the reason she's mad, thinking they were a couple. Young-ah leans back, wondering if Chan-woo actually did something to her. Sul-hee gets flustered, snapping that she doesn't have to explain herself. She sighs and starts opening up about what happened between them. Looking out the window, she thinks back to how it all started. Yoonga laughs at how dumb he is, and Sul-hee totally agrees. Sul-hee remembers Chanwoo just drawing all day long, which felt weird, but eventually she got curious about what was on his paper. She finally asked him what he was working on, and then Chanwoo just looked up at her with a blank expression, making Sul-hee blush and act like she didn't care about his answer. Sul-hee blushes as she admits Chanwoo doesn't lie, so his words felt good, but she's actually worried about that exact honesty, because she remembers how he told her he liked her right to her face. Yoonga looks confused, asking what any of that has to do with her. She keeps thinking about how the guy just doesn't lie at all. Back in reality, someone heads out while a weather report plays nearby. The reporter warns about a storm coming and tells everyone to stay inside. Cut to the classroom door of room 2-2, where things are getting awkward. Hyun-woo tells Sul-hee she's sitting in his seat, making Sul-hee snap at him to just scram so she can keep her spot. Thunder rumbles loudly as Sul-hee looks down, completely frozen in place. Chanwoo calls out to her with a blank look on his face. Hyun-woo shows up with a bruised face, calling her an angel and claiming he'll sit there. Chanwoo and Hyun-woo talk about her sudden change. He thinks of the quiet bridge connecting the buildings, which happens to be where a girl is blushing as she waits for him to show up. She holds a love letter tightly, thinking of this spot as a place for romance. Hyun-woo wonders why he's being called there, or if Sul-hee moved for Chanwoo's sake. He thinks it's because he's too handsome. Back at the desk, Yoonga asks Sul-hee if her neck hurts from. Sul-hee asks why he wanted her to sit there. She doesn't really mind, but Yoonga blushes, realizing she never told her how she got to school today. She remembers seeing Hyun-woo earlier and calling out his name, asking for help to the nurse's office because of a sprained ankle. Hyun-woo suddenly takes off his jacket, saying the floor is too filthy, and warns her about getting an infection. Yoonga is totally stunned. He scoops her up, ignoring her protests about being able to walk. She mentions eating a lot, and he jokes that's why she feels heavy. Yoonga smacks him and tells him to shut up, though she's hiding her face at her desk now, secretly thinking he was actually cool. Chanwoo asks how to handle an angry girl, but gets told he already knows. Hyun-woo says his advice won't help a guy like him, making Chanwoo pretty annoyed. Hyun-woo points out he has a sister and should just go ask her instead. So the scene shifts over to the local middle school, where Chanwoo's sister checks her phone to see him asking for advice. Haemin and Sul-hwa are together, looking like they're up to something. She thinks her sister would definitely have the answer to this one. Later at school, Yoonga asks Sul-hee to go grab some lunch. The guys watch them walk away, wondering what's on the menu today. Hyun-woo is confused about when those two girls got so close. Hyun-woo stretches, hyped about the school lunch being so good lately. He hears the new chef is actually a pro who owns a famous restaurant. Chanwoo seems skeptical about that, but Hyun-woo moves past it, dropping the food talk to ask what he really wanted to talk about. Chanwoo starts explaining the situation with Sul-hee, going over the whole story and wondering why she even got that mad at him. Hyun-woo listens, then says he has one specific question to ask. He wants to know how Chanwoo would feel if she got a boyfriend. Chanwoo shrugs it off, saying he'd just be happy for her, which blows Hyun-woo's mind. He says he'd want to strangle him if he was her. Hyun-woo tries to explain his point, looking a bit nervous as he asks Chanwoo why he's so worried about Sul-hee's relationship status. Chanwoo goes quiet, thinking about why he actually cares if she has a boyfriend or not. He starts to wonder about things, like if they'd even talk to each other if they weren't desk mates. He admits to himself that she's the most beautiful person he's ever been close with, even when she's acting all grumpy or mad. He keeps sketching her in his notebook, focusing on comic-style art instead of the traditional stuff. He realizes she's totally his type, even if she looks a little scary. Most people just think he's sketching her for fun. Chanwoo blushes, thinking about how Sul-hee actually likes his art. He knows it took a long time just to get this close to her. He doesn't want to say anything that might make things awkward, so Hyun-woo presses him, asking if he'd really be okay seeing her with another guy. Chanwoo sighs and looks out the window, wondering why he keeps asking. But then he finally admits it. Of course he cares about her. He starts explaining that his recent attitude was because he got jealous thinking about her with someone else. Hyun-woo smiles. Now that the truth is out, Hyun-woo asks how he really feels about her. Chanwoo goes blank and acts confused, leaving Hyun-woo totally speechless. Hyun-woo's brain is basically fried trying to handle this guy's dense attitude. He's totally done, telling Chanwoo to never ask him for dating help again. Chanwoo rubs his face, suddenly remembering a message from his sister, and mentions she replied a while ago. Hyun-woo snaps, asking why he didn't say so. Hyun-woo leans in, dying to know what she said. Chanwoo pulls up his phone to show him. Haemin sent a weirdly serious text about the upcoming field trip, saying it's his big chance to get Sul-hee alone at night. Chanwoo just shrugs. Hyun-woo can't believe it. He feels bad for Haemin having such a dumb brother. Chanwoo walks off, acting like a field trip is no big deal, even though Hyun-woo points out that he literally wants to draw romantic comedy comics. Hyun-woo suggests giving up and finding another way, but Chanwoo feels totally betrayed by his friend's lack of support. He knows he has to talk to Sul-hee on the trip, because he just wants things to go back to how they were before. He fires himself up, deciding he's finally going to do it. They arrive at the beach, and Hyun-woo cheers while looking around. Chanwoo watches the girls obsess over their social media posts, and Sul-hee gets roped into taking photos with Young-ah by the water. Sul-hee tells her to be quiet while they pose for the camera. Hyun-woo notices Chanwoo looking down and asks what's wrong. Everyone is hyped because the field trip finally started, and back on the bus earlier, the math teacher Mr. Han showed up. He tells everyone to stay in their seats for roll call. Chanwoo plans to talk to Sul-hee first to make things less awkward. He walks up and greets her while she's just chilling by the window. Blushing a bit, he nervously asks if he can sit next to her. She shuts him down immediately, saying the seat is already taken. Chanwoo ends up sitting with Hyun-woo looking totally crushed. Then Young-ah walks over to Sul-hee and asks if the spot is free. Sul-hee's heart starts racing as she looks up at her friend. Sul-hee feels weird about Chanwoo staring at her earlier, and Young-ah points out that he's actually glaring at her right now. The girls are totally confused since he acted like he didn't care. Outside, the teacher yells for everyone to get back on the bus. Hyun-woo tells Chanwoo to cheer up so they can enjoy the trip. Chanwoo starts explaining how he tried talking to Sul-hee, but Hyun-woo suddenly spots a bus full of girls right next to them. Chanwoo just sits there feeling miserable about getting rejected. Hyun-woo starts flirting out the window while Kyung-min sleeps nearby. Young-ah gets annoyed watching him hit on other girls from across the aisle. Sul-hee leans back in her seat, wondering what Chanwoo is up to, while Young-ah laughs and tells her that he's waving like a total lunatic. Sul-hee snaps and yells his name, looking completely fed up with him. She quickly turns back around, her face turning bright red from the embarrassment. Young-ah keeps teasing her about how scary she looked just then, making Mr. Han stand up to announce they're almost at their destination. Hyun-woo gets a smug look, saying he's finally been waiting for this moment. Chanwoo has no idea what he's talking about, so Hyun-woo looks back, explaining that plenty of other schools are going to be there too. He throws an arm around Chanwoo, excited that everyone's hitting the same spots. Hyun-woo continues his brag, saying they'll finally have a chance to meet girls from other schools, imagining all the new faces. Chanwoo looks away with a slight blush, thinking to himself that nobody out there is going to be prettier than Sul-hee or Young-ah. Hyun-woo rolls his eyes, tired of hearing how great Sul-hee is, so Chanwoo tries to claim it's just his artistic perspective, but he totally means it. Suddenly, a phone starts buzzing in someone's hand. Someone just got a text. It's a chat from Hyun-woo snitching on Chanwoo's compliment while teasing Young-ah. Young-ah smiles at her phone, happily typing back a reply to the group. Sul-hee looks over, completely confused why her own name was even brought up. Sul-hee teases her, betting she'll mess up even worse than her. Young-ah just scoffs and says she isn't like that at all, but then she reads a text about what Chanwoo just said. She starts blushing like crazy, unable to hide her huge smile. Chanwoo hears a bunch of noise and wonders what's going on back there. Hyun-woo looks at him with a smirk while Chanwoo stays confused. He tells him he'll thank him for this one day, keeping him in the dark, right as Mr. Han tells everyone to get off. The teacher leads the way, starting the tour by saying that they're visiting an old volcano, but the guys only care about girls. The guide mentions the cliffs, but the guys only care about seeing girls. Even by the waterfalls, they're distracted hoping for a glimpse of someone. The teacher warns them that other schools are coming through the area. Woonjin gets hyped about the other schools, begging them to show up. Suddenly, a group of massive, scary-looking guys appears on the path. The students are shocked. They can't believe those guys are actually kids. Kyung-min finally wakes up and asks what all the noise is about. Hyuk-jong calls Chanwoo a fool for not knowing the rules, basically explaining that when you run into guys from another school, you gotta stare them down until one of you finally looks away. Hyuk-jong tells Chanwoo to act tough, bragging because he won a stare down. Hyun-woo complains about only seeing guys, leaving his friends confused as he yells about wanting to hang out with girls, making Sul-hee cringe hard. Sul-hee can't deal with the guys sometimes, just watching them act out. Young-ah's just glad Chanwoo isn't acting weird like the other boys. Suddenly, some girls from another school laugh and call Hyun-woo cute, choosing which boys they want to talk to. They're moving in, right when the two girls are identified as Mai Kyung-lei and Jae Hyun-kang. Young-ah is stunned that the girls actually like Hyun-woo's weird energy, but she and Sul-hee are left totally shocked by what's happening. Sul-hee offers to help Young-ah since those girls are targeting Chanwoo. Sul-hee agrees with the plan and they both step in to stop them. Jae Hyun-kang turns around surprised when the two girls call out. Young-ah confidently claims the guys are already with them, and then tells the intruders to go find their own guys, basically marking her territory. Jae Kang just smirks and asks if she's serious, while reminding them her school doesn't have any boys around. Sulhee points out the field trip is ending soon, so they can't do much. But My Kyung Lee says today doesn't really matter, acting like as long as they keep in touch later, anything could happen. Jae Kang asks if the guys there with are actually their boyfriends. Young-ah and Sulhee both turn bright red and admit that's not the case. My Kyung Lee smirks and tells them to move aside since they're single, so Sulhee stands her ground and refuses to let them pass. In the background, Chan-woo and Kyung Min are just chatting about sports. Jae Kang tells them to beat it so she can grab some phone numbers. Suddenly, a massive guy shows up out of nowhere, scaring everyone, but then Jae Kang nearly jumps out of her skin, thinking he's some kind of monster. My Kyung Lee asks who he is as the big guy gets super annoyed, right when Ken stares them down and asks if they really want to mess with his friends. Jae Kang doesn't buy it at all, saying he looks way too old, but Ken just leans in close, asking if she really has a problem with that. He threatens to shut her mouth permanently if she says another word, so the scene shifts over to the beautiful waterfall area where everyone is hanging out. Hyun-woo poses, telling a student to get his handsome face in the shot. Actually, the guy is just trying to take photos of the scenery, making Sulhee decide it's time to get rid of the intruders before people notice. She starts pushing the girls away while they yell at her to stop, since Sulhee lets out a deep sigh, feeling totally confused about everything. She wonders why she cares so much about girls going after Chan-woo. Young-ah tries to get her attention, but Sulhee is totally spaced out. Ken stares her down, asking if she has something to say too. Sulhee keeps shoving the girls away, ignoring their angry protests as she starts feeling completely overwhelmed by her own confusing emotion. She managed to stop them, but the weird feeling just won't go away. She can't stop wondering how Chan-woo would have reacted to those girls. Suddenly, Chan-woo calls her name, catching her completely off guard. He and Hyun-woo walk up, asking what all that noise was about. Young-ah steps in, explaining they just had some trouble with another school. Hyun-woo grabs her shoulder, making her heart race as she tries to explain. Chan-woo wants to know exactly what those other girls looked like. Sulhee imagines him getting wrecked by that girl with the long hair. Chan-woo sees her looking spacey, which is just classic Sulhee behavior. She looks him dead in the eyes, asking if he wants to go meet them. He rubs his neck, admitting he hasn't given it much thought, which gets cut short when Mr. Han yells for everyone to get on the bus. Chan-woo starts to explain, but Sulhee just shuts him down immediately. She walks right past him, saying it doesn't matter what he says now. She glares back, saying the fact that he even has to think about it is enough. Sulhee grabs Young-ah and leaves, while Chan-woo stands there totally lost. The group finally makes it to the resort. It looks like a high-end spot. Chan-woo flops onto the bed, feeling totally stuffed after a great lunch. The teachers said they'd be free now, but they're stuck in their rooms. Chan-woo stares at the ceiling, annoyed that this isn't freedom at all. He hears a heavy sigh, looks over, and asks Hyun-woo what's the deal. Hyun-woo looks miserable, moping about how Sulhee won't even speak to him. Chan-woo sits up, curious to know what happened to mess things up. Hyun-woo admits they used to be cool, but things changed lately, and now she just keeps hitting him with these random questions. He pictures Sulhee, admitting he just doesn't understand her anymore. Chan-woo looks puzzled and asks what kind of questions she's asking him. Hyun-woo explains she just wants to know how he'd react in certain spots. Like if something crazy happens, she wants to know his move, and he feels like he's being tested. It's honestly stressing him out big time. He groans about how hard it is to deal with her lately, while Chan-woo suggests that maybe she just wants to get to know him better. Hyun-woo looks surprised by that idea, but Chan-woo thinks there's more. He says it's possible she still has some major doubts about him. Hyun-woo asks for details, but Chan-woo tells him he's got to figure it out. He tells him to grab some ice cream to chill out his racing mind. Hyun-woo tells him to relax. Chan-woo just nods along, right as someone calls out to Young-ah, thanking her for actually showing up. A guy in a jersey stops Young-ah, saying he's got something to say. The two boys hide by the wall. Hyun-woo tells Chan-woo to stay quiet. The guy doesn't hold back and tells her he likes her a lot, which shocks the boys. Chan-woo realizes it's Young-ah getting confessed to. Young-ah looks stunned and tries to speak, but the guy cuts her off, proposing a game of rock, paper, scissors to decide their fate. Hyun-woo is totally confused. He has no clue what this guy is doing. The guy says if she picks scissors, she has to go out with him. The guy keeps going, saying if she picks rock, they'll just stay friends. Young-ah isn't having it and stands her ground, while she shuts him down immediately, telling him he's just not her type. She tells him bye and turns to leave. The guy just stands there, but Hyun-woo panics and tries to hide before they get spotted. The guy's face changes. He mumbles an insult under his breath, and Young-ah stops in her tracks, asking him who he thinks he is. He plays it off, acting like he wasn't even serious about her, right as he starts mocking her, asking if she really thinks she's that pretty. He gets petty, saying he only even talked to her because of a reason. Ken sneers that she just looked like an easy target, and Yoonga sighs, deciding to just ignore the loser while she walks off. Suddenly, she spots Hyun-woo and calls him darling, acting all sweet. Sulhee hears this and freezes up, wondering what she just said. Chanwoo is totally lost too. He just stares at Hyun-woo, who looks back at him while Yoonga keeps yelling for attention, making Hyun-woo play along. He tells her he totally came just to see her. She asks him to walk her back to her room and he agrees, but Chanwoo's brain completely breaks. He's just standing there confused as Hyun-woo turns back to him and tries to get his attention. Hyun-woo stares Ken down, warning him not to insult Yoonga again. Ken just stands there shaking, completely losing his tough act while Hyun-woo tells him to stay away. Yoonga pulls him away, laughing that the guy is about to cry. She calls for Chanwoo to follow them. Hyun-woo plays along with the fake couple act, laughing with her. Watching them, Chanwoo thinks they look great together, but then he starts picturing himself with Sulhee just sitting and talking. He catches himself and wonders why she's on his mind right now. Yoonga stops at her room and turns back to call out to him. Chanwoo looks over, wondering if she wants something from him now. Yoonga walks to her room and tells Chanwoo it's cool if he wants to dip. She starts to head inside, but Chanwoo calls out for her to wait. He rubs his neck, nervously wondering if Sulhee would actually come out. Yoonga looks back over her shoulder, curious why he's even asking that. Suddenly, Hyun-woo asks Yoonga if she's feeling better while she thanks him. He gets all excited, saying he only showed up to see her today. Hyun-woo grabs her hands tight, telling her not to worry about a thing. Yoonga's heart starts racing as they stand there holding hands. Hyun-woo gets a scary look, warning the guys not to insult her again. Yoonga blushes hard and says she's fine, heading off for the night. The door slams shut, leaving Chanwoo and Hyun-woo standing in the hall. Hyun-woo wonders if she's getting Sulhee, but Chanwoo just can't tell. Inside, Yoonga leans against the door, totally out of breath and red. Sulhee asks if the guy proposed, but Yoonga just calls him a jerk. Sulhee teases her about Hyun-woo, but Yoonga says she'll explain later. Yoonga catches her breath, then asks Sulhee why she won't call Chanwoo. She mentions that the guy really wanted to talk to her about something. Sulhee looks surprised to hear they were together and Yoonga confirms it. Sulhee admits she wants to talk, but she's been ignoring him lately. Yoonga asks if it's a pride thing, but Sulhee claims it isn't like that. Chanwoo starts to get real with Hyun-woo, admitting that he doesn't even have Sulhee's phone number yet. Hyun-woo loses it, asking how he can be serious about her without even having her digits. Chanwoo makes excuses since she always sits right next to him anyway. Hyun-woo tells him to use his head because Sulhee isn't always going to be around. Chanwoo just goes quiet, realizing he's right. Just then, Hyun-woo's phone starts buzzing. He sighs, wondering how his friend would survive without him. It's a text saying Sulhee needs Chanwoo's number too. Hyun-woo realizes they're perfect for each other and not in a good way. Chanwoo just blushes. Hyun-woo looks bored, asking exactly where he wants to meet her. Chanwoo thinks for a second and tells him to send her to the garden. A phone notification pings between the girls. It's the location, meaning Sulhee is a blushing mess. Her heart starts racing as she gets ready. Yoonga looks at her and says she's nowhere near ready yet. She tells Sulhee to wait and starts typing on her phone rapidly. Two stylish girls show up. One asks if Sulhee is the lucky girl, but these aren't randoms. They're Angela and Yangmi, the top pros in class. Angela teases Yoonga about being picky with modeling jobs before. Yoonga just brushes it off, telling them they're on a tight schedule. Yoonga cuts off the small talk, telling the girls to focus on helping Sulhee. Yangmi whips out her brushes with a mask on, looking ready for business. She admits she was bored anyway and could use the practice. Sulhee sits there confused while they decide on a ponytail and light makeup. Angela explains the plan, telling Sulhee she'll let her hair down later on. She finishes things off with a quick spray of perfume as the final touch. Sulhee looks stunning, but she's still unsure why the hair needs to change. Yoonga smiles confidently, explaining that the whole plan is about timing. She knows that doing things in this specific order will be the most effective. Yangmi steps up to Sulhee, announcing it's finally her turn to work. Yangmi stares at Sulhee and realizes this job is actually going to be tough. Angela is shocked because she's never heard the expert makeup artist say that. Yangmi explains that Sulhee's features are so naturally strong, she barely needs anything. Sulhee feels like a prop, but she hopes they mean it as a compliment. The makeup is too easy since Sulhee's base is basically perfect already, so Yangmi decides to just stick to some light eyeshadow and lips to finish. Meanwhile, Chanwoo waits by the garden fountain looking nervous as he stands there. He knows the big moment is finally happening, but his heart is racing. Leaning against the rose trellis, he realizes he has no idea what to say. He wonders if he should just start by asking why she got mad earlier. Chanwoo remembers Sulhee looking great in normal clothes and his heart races. He grips his hair in frustration, trying to think of the right words. Under the bright moon, he waits alone by the rose arch, feeling the pressure. He starts getting impatient, wondering when she is actually going to show up. Back inside, Yangmi and Angela finish the makeup, feeling good about their work. Now that the face is done, they realize the only thing left is the outfit. Angela wishes their fashion expert, Minyoung, was there to help them out. But Minyoung is a rising star and currently way too busy with Fashion Week. Yoonga smiles and suggests that a simple sweater would look just fine. Angela agrees, knowing Sulhee is naturally pretty enough to pull off anything. Sulhee thanks her friends for the help and they just want the full story later. She heads out to meet him, promising to see the girls when she gets back. Chan-woo waits nervously, wondering if he should just go inside until a voice calls out an apology, making his heart race instantly. Sulhee appears by the roses and asks if he's been waiting long. He freezes up, his face turning red as his chest pounds like crazy. It's so loud he's worried she can hear it. She asks what he wanted, making him completely blank out. He just stands there and says he forgot. Sulhee looks confused, wondering why he'd even call her out there. He looks at her and tells her she looks beautiful, right then and there. Sulhee blushes hard and asks him to be more specific since her heart is racing. Chan-woo lists off everything he likes but she stops him fast. She's totally embarrassed that he noticed the small details. He really sees everything. Chan-woo tells her to sit down and she agrees while they both sit in awkward silence on the garden bench. It's so quiet, his heart starts pounding. He can't think of anything to say, making things tense. Sulhee mentions how it feels to just sit together like this. Chan-woo just nods along, feeling the weight of the moment. He thinks about how honest she is about her feelings. She never hides a thing, unlike him. He realizes he's the exact opposite and looks away. Chan-woo decides to finally be honest and tell Sulhee how he feels. He stands up suddenly, psyching himself up for the big confession. Blushing hard, he tells her there is something he's been wanting to say. Sulhee looks at him expectantly and tells him to go ahead, so the moment feels perfect as he starts by saying that he actually blurted out that he lied to her. Sulhee's heart just sinks when she hears that. Chan-woo is totally confused by her reaction, wondering why she's threatening to kill him if he doesn't shut his mouth. She hides her face in her hands, while he worries she's still mad. Sighing, she finally asks what exactly he lied to her about. Blushing, Chan-woo brings up the time she asked how he'd feel if she had a boyfriend. He admits he'd feel really upset and doesn't ever want that to happen, so Sulhee covers her face in a total panic, asking if he's doing this on purpose. Chan-woo explains he felt he had no right to stop her, so he lied before. Looking away, he says he just didn't want to make her feel uncomfortable. He finishes his explanation and asks if there's anything else she wants to know. She huffs and turns her back on him, saying she's going back now, which catches him off guard. He quickly apologizes for everything that happened. He mentions he hasn't been able to focus on anything lately because of her. Her heart starts racing as she snaps back that she isn't even angry anymore. Her heart thumps as she tells him he has every right to stop her, so Chan-woo just nods along, completely stunned by her sudden energy. Blushing hard, Sulhee looks away and tells him never to lie again. Meanwhile, Yoonga is waiting around and checking the time, feeling super annoyed that her friend is taking so long to get back. Angela teases her about Sulhee making out, which just makes Yoonga snap. She spins around right as someone finally shows up. It's Sulhee looking totally flustered while asking why they're still there. Yoonga glares, demanding to know why her hair is still tied up. Sulhee shyly explains she was going to let it down, but Chan-woo said. Chan-woo calls her beautiful, and the compliment hangs in the air while Yangmi clears her throat, cutting through the awkward silence in the room. Sulhee is glowing, thanking Yangmi for doing such a great job on her makeup. Yoonga crosses her arms, focused on getting the real details of the date. She leans in close, dying to know if Chan-woo said anything else. Sulhee blushes and looks away, claiming that he didn't really say much, making Yoonga lose it, shocked that the guy didn't even ask her out officially. Looking a bit down, Sulhee quietly confirms that he never made a move. Yoonga gets heated and starts trashing the guy for being so dense, but Sulhee immediately stops her. She won't let anyone talk about him like that. Yoonga leans over Sulhee, pushing her to tell the whole truth about what happened. Sulhee starts blushing hard, hesitating before she reveals what Chan-woo said. The girls go wild, screaming and losing their minds over the romantic news. Meanwhile, Chan-woo walks down the quiet hallway alone, heading back to his room. He's totally spaced out, trying to remember exactly what he said to her. The only thing that sticks in his head is calling Sulhee beautiful earlier. Thinking about her, he finally makes it back and lets the guys know he's there. He opens the door and sees the guys having a massive pillow fight. He freezes when he spots blood on one of the pillows, getting a bad feeling. Woonjin towers over him with a terrifying look, angry that Chan-woo is late. Chan-woo walks right into a pillow to the face the second he enters. Kyung-min laughs with a bloody nose, asking if the girl got him too. Hyun-woo notices Chan-woo's weird smirk and tells him to run away. Chan-woo just talks about how beautiful the world is, sounding totally crazy. Back at school, Chan-woo sits at his desk sketching in a notebook. It rained the rest of the trip, so the teacher canceled everything. The guys were stuck inside moping while the trip ended on a low note. Chan-woo sighs at his desk, bummed he couldn't see Sul-hee dressed up. At least he still has the memory of seeing her that one night. He looks up just as Sul-hee walks past the classroom window alone. Sul-hee peeks into the classroom window, blushing as she catches him, making him jump while he's busy sketching. She asks what he's up to, so Chan-woo stammers and tries to explain he was just drawing something. She leans in close, playing with her hair, and asks to see his work. Chan-woo sighs. He thinks it's unfair how she knows exactly what she's doing. Sul-hee sits down and starts looking through his notebook. Right when she sees a beautiful sketch of herself from the field trip, her heart skips. She blushes hard, realizing how pretty she looks in his art, wishing she'd actually tied her hair up. She tells him to ask permission next time, and Chan-woo just looks confused. Class starts and she hides her face on her desk. Chan-woo packs his things as Sul-hee asks if he's heading home yet. He stops her, calling out her name, catching her off guard like he's about to say something big. He finally asks for her number. He blushes, explaining he wanted to call her during the rainy trip, so he mentions they're both not on social media. Sul-hee's heart races. She agrees to give it but warns she doesn't check her phone often. Later that evening, the school is empty as the sun starts setting. Back at home, Sul-hee is glued to her phone, waiting for a text. Sul-hwa complains on the phone about how her sister is acting, while Hae-min sighs. Chan-woo has just been drawing her sister all night. Sul-hee stays up late, staring at her phone and wondering why Chan-woo even asked for her number if he isn't going to text. The next morning, Chan-woo shows up wearing glasses, mentioning he lost his contacts. Sul-hee can't believe how different he looks, and she realizes he usually wears contacts. She's totally blushing as he brushes his hair back and says good morning to Da-seul. Da-seul starts flirting, asking him for ice cream because she likes guys with glasses. Sul-hee snaps at him out of nowhere, leaving him confused. She tells him to stop running his hands through his hair, but he just says it keeps getting in the way. Chan-woo stands there thinking about how everyone is acting so weird today, and he lets out a tired sigh while the classroom buzzes around him. Just then, Sora walks in wiping sweat away, complaining that it's getting too hot. She spots Chan-woo and calls out to him, catching Sul-hee off guard as she tells him he looks great in glasses. Sul-hee's face starts turning red, and Chan-woo casually mentions he doesn't wear them often. Sul-hee is just relieved until Sora asks if he'll manage her team. Sul-hee can't believe it's happening again. She wonders why even Sora is hitting on him, thinking it's totally backwards. A phone pings as Chan-woo looks away. Sul-hee finally gets a notification, and she sounds way too happy about the glasses, making the other girls suspicious. Sul-hee lies on her bed thinking Chan-woo looks way too cold without glasses. She tells him they're a good excuse for his personality, and he agrees, asking about her leg and if she's coming to school. She says it's fine, explaining she just walked way too much during the school trip. Sul-hee says she's heading to bed and might see him tomorrow. Chan-woo tells her goodnight as she relaxes on her bed, right when she starts overthinking things. She clutches her pillow tight, deciding she should try wearing a ponytail to school tomorrow. Back in his room, Chan-woo sits at his desk looking pretty tired. He stares at his phone for a second before finally putting it down. Chan-woo looks at his phone, realizing he still has that drawing of Sul-hee. At school, Hyun-woo acts hurt, calling Chan-woo's questions silly and rude, teasing him for not knowing what special thing starts today. He explains that it's finally time for the girls' summer uniforms, since Chan-woo can't believe his friend actually showed up early just for that. Hyun-woo just shrugs it off, wondering what it would be like if Sul-hee actually wore a ponytail. Chan-woo imagines it and gets flustered, blushing hard while admitting he'd actually really like to see that. Suddenly, a voice behind them asks what they're talking about, right as Sul-hee shows up, suspicious that they're planning something stupid again. Young-ah sits on the couch, blushing as she talks about Hyun-woo. She snaps at Sul-hee, claiming she's the one who actually helped out back at school. Hyun-woo says his goodbyes and tells Sul-hee to sit. She tells him to grab a chair if he's planning to talk with Chan-woo. Hyun-woo thinks they're acting weird, not realizing he's the reason why. He decides he has to step in and help their love life, asking Chan-woo what kind of girls he's usually into. Sul-hee freezes up and blushes hard, completely caught off guard. She tries to brush it off as another one of his stupid questions. Chan-woo starts to answer, saying he used to like girls with long hair. Sul-hee gets super nervous, her heart pounding as she waits for his answer. Chan-woo admits he's actually into ponytails now, making her head explode. She hides her face, blushing like crazy and feeling totally forgiven. Then Chan-woo turns the question around, asking Hyun-woo his type. Hyun-woo pauses for a second, getting ready to give his own answer until Young-ah walks in with a wave, wondering what they're all chatting about. She checks on Hyun-woo's leg, making his heart race out of nowhere. Later in class, Da-seul announces that midterm exams are coming up fast. She tells everyone to study hard, though some guys are already asleep pointing to the board for info while another student gears up to focus. Dasyul finishes her announcement, mentioning the library stays open late now. Sulhee's heart races as Chanwoo compliments her on being good at design. They both get all shy, talking about the stuff they actually like to do until Hyun-woo cuts in, asking why they're acting so lovey-dovey. Chanwoo quickly denies it, trying to play it cool while asking Hyun-woo why he's even there. Hyun-woo jokes that he's being cold. He grins and decides to bring up the midterms, which confuses Sulhee since he's definitely not the type to study at all. Hyun-woo looks thoughtful, explaining he read something recently about a way to be way more efficient when hitting the books. Hyun-woo explains that teaching others is actually a great way to study, since you really have to master the material to explain it well. He suggests that because they both have different strengths, it'll help them out. Sulhee isn't buying it though, deciding she'd rather just hit the books alone, leaving Chanwoo wondering why Hyun-woo even bothered showing up at all. Sulhee looks away, feeling like there's nothing he can really help them with. Hyun-woo turns to Chanwoo, asking if he's willing to teach him instead. Chanwoo apologizes, admitting he doesn't really study for exams specifically, making them both suspicious. They figure Hyun-woo's interest is just to get a girl. Later, Sulhee turns back to Chanwoo, mentioning there's something she wants to say. Chanwoo blushes, telling Sulhee that her new hairstyle looks great on her. She thanks him while they both sit there feeling pretty awkward and shy. Chanwoo mentions his glasses are a pain, but he lost his contacts that day. Sulhee looks down, she thinks he actually looked really good in them. He gets flustered, suddenly asking if she wants to study together later. She seems surprised, asking if he means today while he gets even more nervous. He admits he really wanted to study with her, looking totally stressed out. Sulhee blushes and tells him she will be right back, leaving the room. Flashback to middle school showing the front gates of the old building. A phone rings with a call from someone labeled as a loner on the screen. Sulhee wonders why her sister is calling her right before class starts. She picks up, nervously asking Sul-HWA what's going on, just when Sul-HWA hesitates before asking to move their study session to another time. Sulhee is shocked, reminding her sister she promised to help with piano. Sul-HWA just sighs and gives a short answer, acting totally distant. Sulhee tries to ask what happened, but the line suddenly goes dead. The girl sits there stunned, thinking about how her sister always hangs up. She gets a bad feeling that something is definitely wrong, so Young-ah walks over and demands to know if someone else drew her. She asks Chanwoo if he's doing something with Sulhee, making him confused. Sulhee stays quiet while Young-ah asks what the guy told her earlier. Young-ah reveals he asked to study with her sister but got rejected. Sulhee fixes her hair, thinking it'd be good to study with him since they're good at different subjects. She blushes, feeling like there's more to it than just grades. She really wants to spend time together. Her phone starts buzzing suddenly, snapping her out of it, so she blushes hard and tells Chanwoo she can study today after all. Chanwoo is happy but asks about her sister. Sulhee hides the truth, claiming her sister decided to just handle things on her own. She feels like she's choosing love over her grades but doesn't regret it. Dasyul suggests they study together and Sulhee happily agrees. They head over to the school library to get some work done. Chanwoo looks up from his notes, wanting to ask her something. Sulhee gets a bit flustered, trying to explain herself, while Hyun-woo suddenly begs her for help with his studies. Later at home, Sulhee tells someone she likes guys in glasses. The person on the phone asks what her type is exactly. Young-ah checks her phone and admits she actually likes smart guys. She jokes about not liking edgy guys with piercings, which makes Sulhee realize she owes Hyun-woo for helping them out. Chanwoo calls out to Sulhee, who nervously says the group is better this way. Hyun-woo takes the study session super seriously, though his notes make no sense. Sulhee tries to block them out and focus on her own work. She stares at an extract in her book, totally confused by what it means. She admits she is stuck just as someone walks up behind her. Chanwoo offers to help, making Sulhee's heart race as he leans in. He gets close to explain the text, and her heart just won't stop pounding. Chanwoo gives her some solid study advice while she tries to stay calm. Watching them, Hyun-woo wishes he could be helpful like that too. Suddenly, another student shows up late because he missed Sulhee's text. Young-ah walks in and wonders why Hyun-woo is hanging around. Hyun-woo begs for help since he's lost, so Young-ah agrees to check it out. Chanwoo calls out to Sulhee, catching her by surprise. He leans in close and starts to ask her a question, so he wonders if she is even paying attention to what he is saying. Her heart is racing so fast she can't focus, making her ask for a redo. The librarian Noel watches them with tears in his eyes, feeling lonely. Elsewhere, a girl named Song-HWA sighs while resting on her desk. A guy approaches and calls her name to get her attention, right as Hyun-ho asks if she's down because of the guy she has a crush on. Song-HWA rests her head on her arms, just giving a tired answer. She pulls out her phone and calls Chanwoo to ask about club plans. He mentions he's busy studying for exams, so she peeks out the door. She asks where he's studying, hoping to hear he's just staying home. Hearing he's at the library, she tries to invite herself along since she finds out he's actually studying with a friend right now. Her face falls as she asks who he's hanging out with. Then a girl's voice blares through the phone before the call just cuts out. Song Hwa stands there frozen, recognizing that sharp voice immediately. She realizes it's Sulhee, that pretty girl from the infirmary, and sinks. Chanwoo thinks about how Song Hwa never acts like this, knowing she must be serious. Song Hwa leans on her desk, planning her move. Suddenly she slams the door open and shouts for Chanwoo, while she marches right up to his desk where he sits with Sulhee. Song Hwa asks if he's going to Comic Con to see his favorite artist, making Chanwoo light up because they actually have something in common. He gets excited about getting an autograph, so she invites him along. Sulhee can't take it and suddenly tells Chanwoo to stop talking to her. Song Hwa snaps back, asking who Sulhee thinks she is to tell him that. She brings up their secret night alone on the field trip to win him over. The guys acting as commentators are losing it over the drama, while Chanwoo apologizes and tries to wake up the kid who just got wrecked. He feels bad for all the trouble he caused with the fight. Time jumps ahead, the stress is gone because exams are finally over. Students are heading out to celebrate, and Chanwoo thanks Sulhee, making her blush as he tells her that her tutoring really saved him, so he starts posing and acting like a total main character. Sulhee just stares at him, wondering what his deal is now. She tells the others he thinks he aced it, but they should just wait. He salutes His Highness for the help while she tells him to get lost. Sulhee starts packing her things to head out for the day, while she tells Chanwoo she'll see him later. He watches her go, then she wishes him a good weekend as she walks away. Chanwoo blushes while saying goodbye, looking a bit dazed by it all. He thinks about how great she looks in her summer outfit, but Hyunwoo teases him about it. Chanwoo tries to deny having feelings. Hyunwoo asks if he's free and suggests they head out since Yoonga helped him out so much with the big exam. Later at home, Chanwoo's room is quiet and empty for once. He finishes a shower and dries his hair, finally relaxing at home. Chanwoo stands in his room looking at his phone, feeling hesitant. He tells himself it isn't weird to call since he just wants to say thanks. Over at her place, Sulhee gets a shock when her phone starts buzzing, so she jumps and knocks something over, making a loud crash. She ends up on the floor, blushing while staring at the vibrating phone. Chanwoo waits on the other end, thinking she rarely checks her phone, but she finally picks up. He gets nervous and stammers out her name. He says he wanted to ask her something, trying to find the words. Sitting on his bed, he blushes hard and asks how she's doing. He keeps talking, acting like he was just wondering about her day. Sulhee kicks her legs in excitement while Chanwoo calls out to her. She snaps out of it and remembers she's actually on the phone, so she hugs her pillow tight and nervously confirms she's still there. Sulhee tries to act busy at first, but Chanwoo just suggests another time. She panics and yells that she's totally free tomorrow, making him happy. Chanwoo agrees to the meeting, though he sounds like he has more to say. He gets shy and tells her she looked really pretty in her uniform today. Sulhee squirms under the covers and tells him he looked good too, while he blushes hard and says goodbye, feeling the awkward tension between them. She hangs up and walks to the window, staring out at the night.